Martin Rafter. I work for Kilkenny Leader Partnership, more commonly known as KLP. We're a non-governmental organisation. Established in 2009, we're a company that facilitates the delivery of social inclusion, rural economy, community-based projects in County Kilkenny and some projects in the southeastern region of Ireland. As a local development company, we have a number of priorities. And one of those is to support the development of the local economy, and the other one is to support the delivery of a number of social inclusion programmes that bring people who are possibly more disadvantaged than others more into the centre of society, where they have jobs, where they have higher standards of education, and where they're bigger participants in their own communities. Kilkenny Leader Partnership is in its second round of the Rural Development Programme, and under the last programme and a number of programmes prior to that, a priority for the company had been the promotion of the production of biomass and the use of biomass by consumers. The VULCAN project was what we would call one of our flagship projects over the last number of years. And it's been an interesting journey for us because it was a new departure into the corporate social responsibility world. And it's one that emerged kind of organically in its own way. We had been working with networks of forestry owners over the last number of years to start moving forestry that is undermanaged and not reaching the market into the biomass market. I suppose that created a level of profile in terms of work for us. Danone had then started looking at its own needs at its plant in Wexford and had ambitions to reduce the carbon footprint of the plant itself. The Ecosystem Fund, which is the corporate social responsibility element of the Danone Nutritia global operation, has significant ambitions itself in terms of the reduction of its collected carbon footprint across the world. So there was an opportunity there for the plant in Wexford and for the corporate social responsibility ambitions of the group. They then approached us to start a conversation about how could the plant in Wexford be connected with individual forestry owners in the region. And so figuring out how to do that and in their search around the potential around how a major boiler that would feed the energy requirements of the plant in Wexford be fed in a sustainable and efficient way.
Liam Carmody, I'm the factory director here in Danone, Wexford. The background to our overall VULCAN project was that Wexford town is not connected, or was not at the time connected to the natural gas infrastructure in Ireland. So as a result, we were burning heavy fuel oil, which has cost and environmental and operational disadvantages. So we launched a project to look at the alternatives, the possibilities we had for fuel choices here in Wexford. So we looked at all the alternative options and we concluded that biomass or wood chip was the most appropriate fuel choice for our site and for our operation. We use the fuel to burn steam for the spray dryer to dry the infant milks that we produce. So when we concluded that biomass was the right option, we launched a project to secure a biomass boiler for the factory. We worked with Danone Nature Team, we secured funding for Enterprise Ireland, and we launched the project for the boiler. In parallel with that, we launched an ecosystem project in conjunction with the Danone ecosystem team in Paris and also with a local NGO, KLP, Kilkenny Leader Partnership. The objective of that project was to secure a sustainable supply of high-grade wood chip for our operation while enhancing the economic, the social and the environmental health of the operation and the community in which we operate.
With that came a need for a consistent quality and a consistent level of volume of biomass material to be fed into that boiler. So how is that going to be organised? When forestry is a very disorganised resource in this country, it's also very spread out and it's held in often very small parcels by individual owners. So really we're Danone in a position to go out and negotiate with every single one of those forestry owners. No, they weren't, because that would not have supported a return in investment. So the work that we'd been doing with the various forestry owners in County Kilkenny in particular, and in some ways in the region, made a level of sense to the people here in the plant in Wexford. So conversations started and a relationship started to grow, and we saw a commonality in terms of our ambitions between what were the ambitions of the plant here in Wexford and the ambitions of the Ecosystem Fund based in Paris and our own ambitions under the Rural Development Programme. And they were about the reduction of the carbon footprint, the securing of jobs in the region, and the improvement of the income that farmers earned from what really is often, in their terms, an undermanaged resource. So that required, from our side, farmers to become more informed in terms of what they actually owned, more informed in terms of how that's managed, and also more in control of that resource itself. So how is that achieved in a practical way? That required a level of organisation of the farmers into kind of collectives, maybe at county level initially, but it actually made more sense to organise forestry owners at a regional level into a forum or cooperative of owners. And then they would then be organised and represented by a core group of people who eventually became Irish wood producers. And Irish wood producers are logistically responsible for the movement of the timber in a particular way, which means it's that the quality is consistent and it is relevant to the needs of the consumer, and it arrives in a timely manner and in a particular condition. But it also then connects, it creates a direct relationship through that value chain between the consumer and the individual farmers. And the ambition is that the farmers' income from their forestry resource is improved, that their level of control over that forestry resource is improved, and that they then collectively become a much more organised sector in a way that is much more economic.
One of the important aspects of what the producer group does is, I suppose, look after our members. We have about 750 members across the southeast. Alex Kelly, I'm manager with the Irish Wood Producers. A lot of our members have been afraid to take any forest management activity. They get lots of people giving them ideas, but they are afraid to go ahead and take the plunge of actual sustainable forest management. So we find our members are trusting us, they're investing in their timber, drying their timber on site, and they're coming back to do repeat thinnings over and over again because they trust the producer group format. It's a wonderful structure that works across the country, and I suppose they entrust us with the future of their forestry as well. If we make a bad job of it at the start, then the Clearfell plantation is ruined down the line. So it's a really important element that we basically are looking after our forest owners all the way through.
Coming from a farming background, either like a livestock producer or a tillage man producing grain, we were always depending on what the market was. We were a taker. So this is the first time we could be a maker of a price. And we went out and started working that way and selling our product. And that's where Danone became a great anchor tenant, among other things. And it was a great opportunity for us.
The fact that the farmer producer now has an outlet for his timber is a big thing, because before now they would have been selling it on to a third party. So now they actually can go to an end user with it, which obviously moves them up the value chain quite a bit. So that has to be a positive for the growers. What I do is I'm chairperson of the Forestry Committee, which tries to guide the group as to which way to seek more markets, to seek more customers other than Danone, even though Danone would be by far the biggest. They've always encouraged us to look for other customers to make the business more viable, so we try to do that within the forestry group as well.
Since we started working with the Irish Wood Producers, it has grown and grown and grown, the members, and the interest in it is huge, because the value we give the farmers is brilliant because we sell their commercial timber. Anything that's commercial is sell on, and they get the best price on the time, possibly for that, which is passed directly on to the farmer. Then the rest of the timber goes on to wood chip, which is a slight bit more money for the farmer. Plus, every piece of timber that's been used, that's in the wood that we cut, goes toward the wood chip, which is better value. In other words, the farmer will get more out of the wood.
Since Danone started using biomass for their heat requirements, it has definitely stimulated the forest business. Up to now, the forest owner didn't have much choice. He had to take pulp price roadside, which meant that it moved on to someone else to add their value to it, whereas now the grower can dictate if he wants to hold on to it and create some more value from his forestry produce.
The big problem was that when I went into forestry, the forest advisor that I was using and the contractors that I was using told me that first thinnings was going to be thinning to waste. And it was paramount that we founded a market for that, A, because the expense of doing the thinning and then just throwing the timber on the forest floor.
The big problem with first thinnings is getting a market for the actual timber that you produce. And we were very lucky that we have Danone with their boiler within an economic distance that we can supply them with the wood chip, which has made it a lot more economically feasible.
And with collaboration with Danone, we have managed to recover this timber that was previously unusable and pay for the costs of the harvesting and the thinning and the improvement of the forestry all in one go effectively. Danone and the VULCAN project actually has brought the whole concept of first thinnings forward as far as I'm concerned as a producer.
We haven't got a culture of growing timber in this country, so there's an awful lot to be learned, and to advise people when they're coming up to my age and up to 50 and 60 years of age. There's a lot to be learned, and you know, we are really depending on the experts to provide that.
To one meeting there, and the chairman, and he said to us, if we were in Germany or Finland on a Sunday, the father and son, and maybe 3 generations, they'd go to see the forest. In Ireland, we could see a hurling match, he said. But you can only learn so much, you still had to get the market. That was the key. I know talking to other people that sold the standing to private companies, they didn't near get the value that I got, and I would recommend any farmer to come into the Irish wood producers to look after their own business.
And I have got that. I have Chagisk and wood producers. They have been great to me, and they have looked after me in every way that I have where I needed help. And I'm quite happy with the service that they are provided. So I planted my timber. I managed it to the best of my ability with the advice and help of all of those people. We arrived at a stage then where I had to make up my mind and how I was going to sell that timber. And there were many options, and it was just difficult to go, but introduced me to the idea of chipping the timber, because up to that I was thinking in terms of pallet wood or saw log or some of those. And, my first thinnings was 3 years ago, and out of that first 20 acres that I had, 21 acres actually, I got over 600 tonnes of green timber, and most of that then was delivered in to Danone in Wexford. And I'm quite happy now that the forestry was the way forward for me.
And what we have then at the other end in Wexford are we've seen a significant growth in the number of people who are employed in high-value jobs at this plant. We've seen the carbon footprint of the plant reduced, and we've seen the development of a very strong relationship between ourselves as a company, between the ecosystem fund based in Paris, and all of the individual farmers who are attached to the project.
In total, we burn about 45 tonnes of wood chip every day, so that's between 2 and 3 articulated loads of wood chip arrive to the site every day, which is equivalent to about 8,000 tonnes of oven-dried materials every year. We're very proud of the fact that the producer groups that we've supported now supply us with over 50% of the fuel that we use in our boiler. So to be honest, the project overall has been an enormous success from our perspective. We saved in total 8,000 tonnes of CO2 from our emissions perspective every year, which is a reduction of about 90%. Danone Wexford now is seen as a reference site in Danone, so that other factories, other sites can come to us or get information from us when they're considering their future fuel choices and fuel requirements.
The strong engagement of our Kilkenny partner, as well as the willingness of the wood chip producer to cooperate, made the VULCAN program a great success.
Okay, so what is the VULCAN project? The VULCAN project is a partnership. It's a partnership between Kilkenny Leader Partnership, the Danone Ecosystem Fund, the plant here in Wexford, and all of the forestry owners who are connected to the project through Irish wood producers. So that partnership is about working up a sustainable and meaningful, in many ways, economy that is attached to the local biomass market. So how that works is Danone have acted as a stimulus and anchor tenant of the project in terms of consumer, and they then become a very convincing solution to be able to convince farmers to organise themselves in a particular way, to develop a different type of relationship with their forestry resource and start moving it into a particular market that makes economic sense to them.
At the end of the day, it's about the markets and the return we're going to get. And for myself, I'd have to thank Danone because I have been very satisfied with my chipping and the few pounds I was left, and that's what the group is all about.
Good people working together has given me an opportunity to provide something for a pension that I will be using from now on. And my plan now is to harvest some timber every year so that I have an income on an annual basis.